Dude, couldn't have said it better because that's the most important thing is your relationships and your
Yeah.
family because that's the legacy that's gonna move on with your kids, with the people in your life that you maybe had a positive interaction with. Just be a relentless giver of your time, giver of your resources, and just watch the fruits that produces for you.
Welcome to the Kaizen Blueprint podcast, where we explore topics for continuous personal growth and improvement.
Ben Sulka, welcome to the show. How's it going, brother?
What's up, Aldo? So happy to be here, man. Just appreciate you inviting me on. Just looking forward to a great conversation today.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one because one thing for sure is the reason why we were going to put this together is that you're my accountability partner.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's talk about accountability at first, and then we'll dive deep to wherever it is that it takes us. So
Sure.
one thing that one thing that people not mistaken, but perhaps deter away from being an accountability part or having an accountability partner is that one, they don't know where to find them, and then two, how
hmm
do I know they're a good partner? So in your experience, especially obviously with us each other, let's dive deep into that. And is there a specific way that you want to filter out a accountability partner, and perhaps what do you guys talk about?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aldo. The first thing I would say is someone similar age as you, like you and I, for example. I'm 23. I think you're 24, right? Is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
Similar age, like we're in a similar position in life where we're kind of just getting things started a little bit, I guess, but we're working on developing some stuff, but have very similar goals and things that we want to achieve. Like, for example, our accountability relationship isn't necessarily just focused on one thing. Like ours is focused on development in general, like relationships, finance, real estate, building business, like stuff like that, and developing our overall skill set. So I would say, firstly, someone who has similar goals and interests as you. And then, like, I'm almost more important than anything is like someone who has the time to meet with you on a regular cadence. So I know you and I meet every other Tuesday, I think it is.
Yep.
Having like a set schedule and a set time that you actually come together and meet has been the most imperative thing for me, like actually getting it on paper, getting it on a calendar, because if you don't put it, it's gonna fizzle out, and it's nothing's gonna happen. It's really not gonna work out if you don't time block for it and set it up like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think dedicating the time and actually, because that's a respect to your partner too, as
Yeah.
accountability as well, right? You want to dedicate that time. You want to put that on calendar. What else?
Yeah. So yeah, calendar, um, making sure you have similar goals. I would say someone who's willing to push you and say the things that might make you a little bit
Mm,
uncomfortable. Like, for example, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago. One of my big goals for this year was to buy a house hack deal. And I know I've been kind of getting distracted by a lot of other things, like putting more time into doing a lot of running, which we'll get into, like building my physical fitness, trying to build up my side hustle more, developing my relationships, and almost like kind of putting the real estate thing kind of on the back burner and not necessarily taking it as seriously as I should be. And you kind of came to me and said, almost like kind of back me into a corner a little bit, like, well, what could you be doing differently, kind of thing. Like, is this actually a priority for you? And it made me kind of realize, okay, if this is something I really want to do, I have to find time for it. I have to prioritize it. When I'm setting up my goals for the week, I have to time block for it, basically. Like, okay, on these set days during this time increment, I'm going to analyze deals, or I'm going to drive for dollars. I'm going to do this real estate education activity to put me in a position to be able to find that first deal and
mm,
make the transaction. So, like, I appreciate you pushing me like that, not just in real estate, but in all aspects.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about the other aspects in just a second. But one thing that is for sure is that consistency, right? Putting yourself on that, putting our meeting into that biweekly calendar on a Tuesday and talk about it. And not only that, we communicate very often. I think you're probably the
Yeah.
second on the list as opposed to my girlfriend when it comes to someone
Let's
who's
go.
texting.
Let's go, man.
But just asking each other questions, that is just as important because people don't really like advice, and people want to get advice when they ask for it, as opposed to someone
hmm
just voluntarily advise you, and sometimes you don't like to be told what to do. So I think during our session we ask a lot of questions for each other. It's like, how much are you trying
Yeah.
to achieve, or how many houses are you trying to either door knock or cold call, how many
Yes.
offers are you put out. So
Yes.
those type of specific questions, it
Hmm.
being more detailed about it, help you to stay accountable.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And like quantifying it, like you said, like saying how many specifically, how much time, if it's a reading goal, how many pages, if you're doing exercise, like what exercise are you doing? How many days are you working out? Like how much time are you working out for? How many miles are you running? Quantifying it like that. And I love how we interact throughout the week and like text each other back and forth saying, here's like what I did today. Or if I see you like on Strava, the exercise app, like I'll see the workout you got after. I can't read it because you put it in German, so I don't know what the heck it says, but I know you're out there
Yeah.
getting after it. So yeah, just keeping all the things like super top of mind and what our goals are throughout the week, like that has been insane for me. And like you're the first accountability partner that I've had, and like things have been so exponential for me in terms of like the way you push me, like seeing you on Strava, like, okay, he ran 8 minutes something mile. Okay, let me try to beat that by 2 minutes or whatever, like that kind of thing. Like it's kind of competitive, but at the same time, it's like we're pushing each other to be
Yeah.
better, and it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's shift gear and talk about physical fitness.
Yeah.
You work out in the morning. You're already
Yes,
excited for
sir.
the
Yes, sir.
subject. You you
I
you
know
you
this is
work out in the morning, right? You work out
yes,
in the morning. Doesn't
I do.
it's either weight or running. So how does the
Yes.
physical fitness play a role in just your overall personal development?
Yeah, absolutely. So like top of the list for me is like faith and my relationship with Anna, my fiance, but then right after that is physical fitness. It's like the
Hmm.
foundation of everything for me. And it wasn't always that way. I would say junior year of college or junior year of high school, pardon me, was when I really started taking my physical fitness seriously. And like best decision that I've ever made. Like it really helped me get on a routine that kind of set me up for a lot of different things. And I think lifting in the morning specifically, which is what I do, and we can go through my schedule like down to the minute at some point, like how I approach every single weekday. But like starting your day doing something that you really don't want to do, like it's uncomfortable, man. I wake up in the morning, alarm goes off 4:30. It's not really much different now than it was last year or the year before. Like it really doesn't get much easier. I wake up in my bed, like I'm laying next to my beautiful fiance. My fluffy dog is next to me, just sleeping in a warm bed with a warm pillow. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I'm going to get up
Yep.
and leave this comfortable situation to go do something
Mm.
uncomfortable, go to the gym, like torture my body, fight through the first 10, 15 minutes of super, super tiredness when you wake up, like that first 10, 15 minutes of fatigue. It never really goes away. Um, but starting out your day doing something uncomfortable and putting yourself in that position like makes everything else easier throughout the day. Like if I can wake up and do that and torture my body and put myself through a really intense workout, like what is going to hurt me throughout the day? Like it really, really puts a damper on that. It's awesome.
Yeah. I have a quote here. Research shown that embracing discomfort can lead into substantial
Hmm.
benefits. For example, a study published by the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology found that people who regularly challenge themselves with new experiences report higher levels of life satisfaction and personal growth. Additionally, individuals who adopt a growth mindset that believe that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work tend to achieve more and persist longer in the face of challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that really speaks to it. It's like, being willing to do that kind of stuff voluntarily really speaks to the person that you are and the person that you're trying to become. And I think when it comes to exercise, like having a set routine as well has really been beneficial for me, like knowing what I'm going to do the next day, because I only lift for an hour and 5 minutes. I do my stretching at home before I go to the gym, but when I go there, it's only for an hour. Like it's not that much time. It's a pretty short window, but like I know what the list
Yeah.
of things that I'm going to do because I set those up the night before, and I just get in there and I attack that workout with everything that I have. So like still burning a crap ton of calories, even though I'm only lifting for an hour's time and kind of hitting every muscle group throughout the week as well. So doing that Monday through
Yeah.
Friday, and then Saturday doing my Saturday special, which we can get into at some point.
Absolutely. And so, in terms of exercising, it isn't just the physical aspect that you're benefiting from. It's not that, yeah, you're weightlifting or you're running or whatever it is in your schedule. It's the psychological aspect of it, that when you're going through a tough situation, right, you've done the hardest thing in the
Yes,
morning. So anything else that comes after, it's a piece of cake.
that's it.
Not necessarily, but relatively as a piece of cake. But you have that mindset. That's the most important thing, that mindset of waking up feeling
Hmm.
super comfortable with your partner and your dog, right? It's so warm, it's so
Yes,
nice. You wake up in the morning, it's
yes,
still dark outside, and then now you're stepping outside of that comfort zone and being uncomfortable, and that translates into other parts of your life where it might be uncomfortable for you to put on an offer and then sign that contract for a house, or even
yeah,
or work on a very difficult project, and or talking to a very difficult client. Those things adds up through that resilience and just waking up early in the morning and just getting after it.
yeah, exactly. And it's like callousing your mind. I know that's something that David Goggins says. Callousing your mind, or like the cookie jar. It's like
I'm actually
building
wearing his shirt.
a. Oh, it's sick. Let's go. Dude, it's like building social proof, like within yourself. Bro, that's so funny that you're wearing a shirt. But like when you do that, like you're building something within yourself. Like, I think that's funny that you're wearing a shirt. I love it. But yeah, like callousing your mind, dude. And like you said, it's the cookie jar. I mean, you're kind of building up a reputation for yourself. And that first, like, I don't know, maybe month or so is like really, really hard when you want to try a new thing. But once you get past that first month, like in the months and the days after that, that you wake up and you're like, oh man, I really don't want to do this today. But the Ben of 2 weeks ago did it. So the Ben of today better get after it and better wake up and do it. So it's kind of like your personal reputation with yourself and kind of making sure to build that up. And you're like, dude, if I could do it back then, I can definitely do it now.
So how did you get started being somewhat disciplined and working out and just doing stuff? Because for some of the viewers or the listeners here, they might not have that discipline, or they might not have that mindset. Most people wake up around maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, right? That's the normal
Yeah.
waking hours for most people. And you being somewhat above average, if not beyond average, you're able to wake up at 4:30, and for some people that's way too early for me. I can't even wake up around that time. That's like, that's still the graveyard shifts. So tell us more about how you first get started into being disciplined and waking up early and getting after it.
Yeah. So it wasn't always this way. In fact, it was the exact opposite for the longest time throughout middle school, high school, super undisciplined with some of the decisions and choices that I made, like eating habits. I mean, my metabolism was crazy back then, so I could eat a whole pack of Oreos and not really be worried about it. So I wasn't really worried about those kind of decisions. But the way I kind of disciplined myself was when COVID started, seeing a lot of people like
Mm.
crawl into their hovels, like give up, like all this sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, I have two options. I either have to take accountability for this, for the situation, take responsibility of it and own it. And I don't necessarily know where I even got that mindset, but I was like, this is the turning point for me. Like, this is the time that I have to get better. And that's when I started really getting up early, put myself on a regular schedule because I didn't have a regular schedule. I was just kind of willy nilly about my workouts. Always still did my workouts throughout the week, but I didn't have things on a set schedule. I didn't time block. I didn't put focus on my high priority activities. So getting disciplined really started with COVID and just making that decision. Like change can take place in an instant for me. I was like, change can take place in an instant if I just am willing to flip the switch. And that's something that Bedros Keuilian says in his podcast. But that was the turning point for me where I just had to flip the switch. And like I said, doing it over and day and day and day and day and day and over again, like helps me make those decisions now when I get up or when I go through an uncomfortable situation because I've been doing it for the last 4 years now and it's only grown exponentially since then. And a lot of it, I think it also starts with
So
looking up to other people in your life too who are disciplined and taking pointers from them.
got it. So what was that flip the switch? What was that switching point? What was the main point that kind of shift everything around?
Yeah, so during COVID, I was living with a roommate. But this was like one of my pretty much my first time living by myself. So in an apartment, away from my parents, away from my family, and kind of just alone with my own thoughts. And I had been watching a lot of YouTube during COVID and kind of got involved in like the personal finance and success community and kind of more so like the higher level gurus, like the Robert Kiyosaki's, like the Grant Cardones and stuff like that, who more talk about finance, but that opened the gateway for me to some of the other success community, which was the people who are like disciplined and getting after it, like your David Goggins, like people like that, and kind of just realizing how
Mm.
much I've left on the table earlier in my life, but also being grateful for how early I kind of caught it. Because some people are, in their 40s, 50s, whatever, and still don't even realize the damage that they've done to themselves by not putting themselves on a set schedule, not being disciplined, and really just trying to set myself up for the future. But I would say COVID was the turning point, being locked down and having access to like just not really having much to do other than go on my phone, my computer, whatever, and finding that online community of success driven people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's that content, the things that you watch kind of motivated you into changing your life. Most
Yeah.
people, right, when they watch a certain content, it's that short form video of something entertaining, whereas where you watch the content, it's more educational, inspirational, and that
Yes.
changed your life tremendously. Yeah.
100%. And dude, I try to avoid the short form content because it's a highlight reel at the end of the day. And also in 2020, a turning point for me was deleting all my social media. I deleted Facebook, I deleted Twitter, I deleted Instagram because I found myself when you're in that success community, like people just post their highlights. Nobody posts the struggle. Nobody posts the stuff that they went to or the steps that they had to take to get to where they got to. So it kind of makes you compare your level one to like somebody else's level 100. And it like
Yes.
discourages you. So, and it's really something that I've adopted to like, how can I compare the person that I am to the person that I was yesterday or the person that I was last week, last month, whatever it may be. And if you stay focused on that and
Mm.
take those daily actions every single day to get better, like the growth is exponential when you're comparing yourself to yourself. Well, if you're comparing yourself to David Goggins, like this dude runs 30 miles in 2 days. Like if I run 30 miles in a week, like I ran 30 miles in a week for the first time yesterday and like felt like an absolute bad mother, you know what? Like, but this dude does it in 2 days. So like compare yourself to what you're doing before. Like 30 miles in a week
Yeah.
when I probably did 30 miles in all of 2023, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Peterson said it best. It was like compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who is someone else today.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it. Absolutely love that quote.
yeah. But I mean, in terms of comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, right? You have
Yeah.
grown exponentially, and that is really really good. Now, I want to shift gear from being who yourself before now to your future self.
Yes,
Have
sir.
you ever done something or kind of like a exercise of you thinking about the future? Obviously, you seem like a future thinking type of guy, and the reason why I brought this
Totally.
up is because Benjamin Hardy, he's the author of many amazing books. He talked about looking at your future self. Now, in terms of your future self, what do you have you done that exercise? What do you think is your future?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that I've done in a book that I read earlier this year is The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. They have this concept of goal
Mm-hmm.
setting to the now, which is something that I really, really adopted. So, I have in a spreadsheet in my Google Sheets established, okay, what are my ultimate goals? What are my 5 year goals? What is my 1 year goal? What is my 1 month goal? And what is my 1 week goal? And kind of how those all fit within one another. Like, what am I going to do today that helps me reach my 1 week goal? What am I going to do this week that's going to help me reach my 1 month goal? What am I going to do this month to help me reach my 1 year goal, and so on and so forth. And structuring it that way forces me to take the daily actions necessary that are going to put me in a position to reach that long term goal. Now, I don't have my goal sheet in front of me, but I know off the top of my head that one of my number one goals, like my ultimate net worth goal is $50 million. That's my net worth goal. Okay, so what am I going
Wow.
to do this year to get to that net worth goal? What am I going to do in the next 5 years to get to that net worth goal? And all those things are sort of established on paper. Like I have a certain number of units of real estate that I want to own as my ultimate goal. I have a certain age that I want to hit financial freedom by. And I have all those things sort of documented and working backwards to now, like to today. What am I going to do today to develop myself, to develop my side hustle, to develop my education, to develop my mindset, to put me in a position, in a sustainable position to get to that level. And that's kind of how I've approached it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having that overarching, for lack of a better term, I think Jim Collins said it best: your big, hairy, audacious goal, right?
Yeah.
And once you have that overarching goal, that perhaps it is too far away for you to reach right now, but if you take a step back and break things down by time, okay,
Yep.
maybe I'll reach that in 5 years or 8 years or 10 years, doesn't really matter. But if you break it down even further, like, what am I going to do on a yearly basis? At that point, it's just a division. If it's a quantify,
Yep.
if you could quantify it, then it's just a division. You know, how many days are in a year? How many days are in a month? Or how many weeks are in a month? And you just keep breaking it down that way. And where I
Yes.
was getting at with the future thing, because I know that you just recently started this, is writing a letter to your future self
Yes.
or from your
Yes.
future self. So your minute mastermind. That's where I was getting at with the future
Yes.
thing.
Okay, sweet. Yes, I would love to talk about that. So the My Minute Masterminds, I just started doing this probably 2.5 weeks ago now. I've wanted to develop a personal brand and a personal presence for a long time now. I've already started to do so on like LinkedIn with my posts and stuff like that, but I've wanted to develop a YouTube presence and I wanted to be a YouTuber for a really, really long time. Just hasn't been necessarily something I prioritize. But the My Minute
I lost you a
Masterminds
little bit.
are daily 1 minute videos of something profound that I learned that day, something that I'm trying to put into practice in my life. Um, and my goal is to go back when I'm older, when I reach these ultimate goals, and go back and watch the journey that I went through. And the videos that I post aren't necessarily to like say that I'm sort of like be some sort of success guru or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. Like the viewership really doesn't matter to me at all. I hope people get value from it if they watch it, but it's really just me documenting my journey and the importance of that. And I think Gary Vee has talked before about like the importance of documenting your journey, and that's kind of not necessarily inspired by him, but this is something that I've always wanted to do. So that's what the My Minute Masterminds are. So, go check out my YouTube channel. It's Ben Sulka.
Awesome. Well, check him out on YouTube. He's gonna be doing this. I don't know how many days of the year he's gonna do it, but all the small clips have been a tremendous help. In terms of, I mean, you
Sweet.
you
Yeah, I'm
wrote
glad you're
you
watching them.
you create these videos. Always got to support my accountability partner.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. That's right. That's right. I'll see you on Strava tomorrow. What were you going to say?
uh, how can someone start their own minute mastermind, and what benefits are they going to expect from it?
That's a great question. And there isn't really like a whole bunch of preparation that goes into it or anything like that. It's kind of just me picking up the camera. It's imperfect, taking imperfect action and just recording myself for 1 minute. It's like something that I'm thinking about throughout the day, like something that came to mind. Like when David Goggins is running and he calls his girlfriend Jennifer up, he's like, "Hey, I got some stuff," and she like comes up and films him like when he's running. It's like almost like that sort of thing. Like something just hits me, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be my minute mastermind. And then I just throw the camera on and record it. It's not like scripted or anything like that. So I think the way that somebody could do this themselves is just do it that way. Is what did you learn today, and record yourself
Hmm.
talking about it. And then the goal is to go back and watch that when you're older and see the journey that you went through. So just 1 minute of daily learning, something that you learned today that you didn't know yesterday, or something super profound that you wanted to apply to your life. And that's kind of what the My Minute Mastermind is. And I think it would be awesome if other people posted minute masterminds like that to give people and the future selves insight
Yeah.
into the things they're trying to accomplish in present day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's more of a self accountability or even just journaling. It seems like the Minute Mastermind is more about video journaling yourself of your
That's it.
thoughts at that very moment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And one of the other benefits to it, like you just said, is personal accountability. Like it's not necessarily for the purpose of like getting a bunch of views or anything like that, but something about putting it out into the ether. It's like similar to writing down your goals
Mm.
or sharing your goals with people, like with your accountability partner, with the other people in your life, like just putting it out into the ether almost makes it more achievable, or kind of puts you in a position where you like have to take the action necessary to achieve it. So that's kind of like a an
Yeah.
ancillary benefit to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of accountability, and this is more of a curious question, right? At the end of every
Yes.
year, everyone
Yes.
have this sense of urgency. The sense of
Hmm.
urgency of, oh, the year is about to end. Here's my new year resolution.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the statistic is that only 8% of people that have, for lack of a better word, like New Year resolution. I was going to say New Year resolution. Only
Hmm.
8% of them stick to it. Why do you think that is?
Too much thinking about it and not enough action. I mean, the concept of imperfect
Mm,
action, like if you are trying to plan out your 2025 goals, let's say on in October of 2024 of this year, like just start now. There's no reason to wait until a particular date to like you're almost pressing the snooze button on your personal development, on your goals, on your life. Like just get started now. And I was the type of person, was always
yeah,
the type of person to put things off. I'm 17, I'm 18 years old. I don't need to do this now. I don't like, and then all of a sudden 2 years goes by, another 2 years goes by. All of a sudden, you're in your low 20s, and then you're still putting it off. And all of a sudden, you're 25 and you haven't done anything yet. So it's like take the action that you need to take
yeah,
now and stop thinking about it. Always was something I always did. Think too much. Think too much. Like stop thinking and just do it. There's nothing wrong with taking
mm,
imperfect action. Taking imperfect action is so much more valuable than doing absolutely nothing. And if you continue to, it's like analysis paralysis with real estate investing. You're having analysis paralysis with your goals, with your next year goals.
yeah.
Like just start now. Just start now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that execution, it plays a huge role on it. And as a young, as two young individuals here on this podcast, we get advice a lot from the older folks, right? I'm pretty sure you have your own set of mentors and people that you look up to. And
For
maybe
sure.
it is your family member who give you this advice, and that is, oh, you're still young. Take your time.
Yeah.
You have all the time in the world. And that's like a double-edged sword, right? We wait, and then we're like, oh, we have a lot of time, but then people tend to wait until 25 and 30 and 35,
Yep.
and we're like, oh crap. T- Now we don't have a lot of time. When you have kids,
That's it.
when you have additional responsibilities, right? It gets tougher and
Thank you.
tougher every single time that you wait. And I think the executing part is a good thing. I think similar to poker, like you only know what your hand is. You don't know what everybody's hand is,
Yes.
and you don't know what life
True.
takes at you unless you make a bet, unless you start making calls, unless you start taking risks and executing on certain things that you're going to do. So, and I have this quote from
Yep.
James Clear in Atomic Habits is you do not
Hmm.
rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Wow. That's good. That's so good. And like on this topic, I'm so glad you brought this up because literally the My Minute Mastermind that I recorded today, I think it was today, it might have been yesterday. I don't know. Every day's morphed into one when you wake up super early. But I talked about the importance of, so seriously, I talked about the importance of winning your 20s. Like why that is so important because like you said, once you get older, once you hit your 30s and you have responsibilities, like me personally, I'm going to have kids probably at 29 or 30, and one of my ultimate goals is to be the best father of all time. So how can I put myself in a position? And it goes back to callousing my mind too, because being a father is hard. Like I see the fathers around me that
Yes.
have children, my sister's brother-in-laws and her sisters, that what they go through with their kids and the amount of responsibility and the stress that it puts on you. I'm 23 now. If I can put in the time up front to win right now, and it's just like winning the morning, but it's almost like winning the morning of my life, if that makes sense. Like winning the early
Yeah.
portion of my life to set myself up for future success. And I know that between now and the time that I have kids, say 6, 7 years, whatever it is, I have to absolutely get after it. And that's why every single day is important to me and every single decision that I make, because I'm building this reputation with myself every single decision that I make. Sure, I might decide to shirk on my responsibilities one day, but now I'm training my mind to think that, it's okay to say, to push your responsibilities to the side or the things that you wanted to accomplish for the week to the side. But I know if I do that, I'm going to continue to train myself to continue to push my
Mm,
responsibilities to the side. And then, like I said, all of a sudden you're 25, you're 26. Now I only have a few years before I want to have kids to set myself up. So regardless of who the people in my life are that say, you're young, like now's the time to have fun, like now is the time to get after it because it's like compound interest for your life. It's not just for your finances. You're
yes.
compounding the success that you're going to have in the future by doing the things that you need to do now. Even if there's discomfort, even if it's uncomfortable to delay that gratification, it's imperative. And that's my approach to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that delayed gratification plays a huge role, right? And when people ask me all the time, how do you have so much time with either the podcast or real estate or meetings or having a full-time job and having a relationship? Like, how are
Yep.
you having so much time? I tell them all the time, this is just the easy mode, brother. This is
Right.
just the beginning. Once you
That's
have,
it.
like you mentioned, once you have kids, it gets so difficult with dedicating time with just the kid, himself or herself,
Yeah.
dedicating time to them and still adding on, maybe you have a established business at the at that time now, or you have
Right.
bigger responsibilities and bigger decision making, and maybe you have to travel more. Those are hard, and the more that you get older and the
Mm-hmm.
more responsibilities that you have, it gets harder. So right now it's just the easy mode. Once you have that time management under control, once you're able to invest in
Yes.
and you know intelligently invest your time into many different buckets in your life, you're set
Yeah.
for a better life down the line. And I think that delayed
That's it.
gratification is a huge aspect of that.
I totally agree. And it's like building the systems, like you said, building the systems in your life now. It's going to be a lot harder to build systems in your business, if it's real estate, if you own properties, in your life and how you want to approach each day, your fitness, whatever it may be. It's harder to build those systems when you have all these other responsibilities, especially when it comes to kids. Like you cannot set up the
Mm,
systems. You can, but it's a lot harder to. You're going to have to make sacrifices then that are probably more uncomfortable than the sacrifices that you're going to make now. It's a lot easier to make sacrifices now when your responsibilities are so much less,
yeah.
but it's going to be a whole lot harder when you're trying to develop those systems when you're in your early 30s. So doing it now is huge, but it can be hard. It can be hard when you see a lot of your friends and the people around you not necessarily making those choices, and it's really hard. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're holding a lag here, but yeah, absolutely. The systems and the habits are as important, and I think at a certain age, I believe it's 25 or 26, it's harder. It's
Hmm.
starting to get harder for you to start switching up your habits. Um,
Yeah.
learning something new or doing the same thing that you were doing before changes a lot, and it gets difficult as you age, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, and that's why setting those habits up and building them now is so important. And it's not easy. It's going to be uncomfortable now to make a big change, to put something into practice in your life. But like we keep saying, it's a lot easier to make those sort of changes now, um, when things are relatively like on easy mode, like you said, because they really are on easy mode. And especially in America,
Yeah.
we don't really realize how easy we have it. So just making sacrifices to set yourself up and do stuff, it's not really that hard once you train yourself and once you train your mind to kind of get in that mode. And that starts with having an accountability partner and spending time with people, and in groups who have the same goals as you. It's a lot easier to create those habits in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key to success here, right, is under one, you want to understand your goal. You want to write it
Yeah.
down. You want to figure out what you want to do. And sometimes, if you don't know what you want to do, then try many different things out. And I think I
Hmm.
mentioned this to you, Ben. Goals is similar to a rough draft. It's like a never-ending rough draft of your life. It always going to change depending on who you meet, depending what you learn,
Hmm.
and depending just whatever happens, what is happening in your life at that current time. And Perhaps it's a family that you want to start dedicating a lot of time on, and you want to write that goal down. And
Hmm.
once you start executing on those goals, when you start making little actions, changing your habits little by little, then I think that's not enough. I think
Yeah.
the accountability aspect plays a huge role on it, and that's why people have masterminds. That's why people join many different, groups, just to keep them motivated. And for us, even though, funny enough, Ben and I never met in person ever in our life. Everything that we've
Not
been
yet.
doing has been all digital. We
Yeah.
will soon, but figuring out your accountability partner, having someone who is like-minded in terms of ambition, in terms of age, in terms of availability, plays a huge role in your life.
Yes.
And dedicating time on a frequency basis, whether that's a weekly or biweekly, and dedicating that time into asking each other questions and talking about each other goals and asking
Yeah.
questions of why didn't you reach it, or what happens if you already reach it, what's the next step. Get that unbiased opinion, you're going to be
Yes.
successful. And the most important thing is consistency. If you're consistent
Yeah.
on a daily basis and you're dedicating time to your partner on a daily, not your
Every day.
love partner, but more like your accountability partner, you will grow exponentially, and you will learn a lot of things in life too. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Aldo, we have never met. Like you said, like as far as I'm concerned, you're a video game character and you're just like part of the simulation in my life. But no, but like in 2024, if you have access to somebody similar minded as you, similar age as you that you met through the internet, like there is no excuses anymore in 2024 not to find somebody to have in your corner that you can bounce ideas back and forth from that you just found
Yeah.
online. Like we met each other online. And the things that you've
Yeah.
done to help me change my life, and same thing with me to you, just through a relationship we built through a computer screen, to exponentially
Yeah.
change our trajectories. It's just such an advantage that we have right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about the most important thing here about dedicating time.
Hmm.
How are you wake up pretty early. 4:30 is
Yes.
is pretty early. I mean, I've done that before, and that is pretty early for me too. Talk about your
Yes.
time management. Like, what is your morning routine, and how are you dedicating time to many different aspects of your life?
Sure. Yeah. And it starts out by going to sleep early the night before. I'm not like sleeping on 3 hours by any means. Like people always ask me, like, you get up 4:30, like, dude, that's disgusting. I'm like, well, I go to sleep at 9:30. So I'm getting the same 7 hours as you. I just don't go to sleep at 3 in the morning and wake up at 10 a.m. That sort of thing. But yeah, starts with getting good sleep, but it's just having like down to the minute. Like I can go through my morning routine with you, and I will, to kind of give you an idea of all the things that I accomplished before 8 a.m. And it's when you actually look at it and put it on paper, like it's like, dang, dude, I do a lot. Like I do this much before 8 a.m. more than most people do, like in an entire day. So like at 4:30, alarm goes off. Like I said, it's always a little bit tough. There's always that 1 second decision that I can make to stay in bed, but I never do. But I never do because I've built credibility for myself over the last several years, knowing that no matter what, I'm going to get up, no matter what the circumstances are. So I wake up at 4:30. Then usually that first 10 to 15 minutes, I'm like groggy, but I'm throw the headphones in, start listening to podcasts. It kind of just depends on how I'm feeling that day, what podcast it is. But like 4:30 to 4:45, I'm brushing my teeth. I got my podcast in. I'm drinking some water, and then at 4:40, when I'm done brushing my teeth, I'll start hitting yoga. I'll do a yoga stretch for 20 minutes. I wouldn't necessarily call it yoga. It's more just like a deep stretch, and I'll do that while I'm listening to my podcast, kind of get my mind ready for the day. It's not necessarily an easy stretch by any means. Like it hurts. Stretching hurts. I'm trying to push myself through some
Yeah.
pretty tough
Yeah.
stretches. Um, but that's what I do from 4:40 to 5, and then from 5 to 5:15 ish, I go through the guided prayer on the Bible app. Spend some time worshiping, and spend some spiritual time, and then I drive to the gym 5:15 to 5:30. 5:30, I start my lift. 5:30 to 6:30. 5:30 to 6:35 ish. I'm getting after it in the gym. Driving home after I work out at the gym, burn 500-600 calories, whatever it is that day. Depending on how hard I got after it, head home, get back, walk the dog, take the dog for a 15-minute walk, get back, shower. Then I'm making breakfast. And then around 7:20ish. Then from 7:20 to 8, I'm working on my side hustle, my side digital marketing stuff that I'm doing for clients, to try to develop and build that as much as I can. Doing communication, doing ad campaign management. So doing all these things before 8 a.m. So like by 8 a.m., I've already gone through my intimate prayer time. I've already hit a deep stretch yoga session for 20 minutes. I've already gotten some high intensity exercise in. I've already listened to probably 2 hours worth of success, mindset, business, whatever it may be that day, podcasts, because I'm listening to that through my stretch, through my lift while I'm driving. Kind of turn your car into a mobile university type of thing. Occupy those
Mobile
that
university.
time when yeah, that's what it is. When you're in the car, it's like a mobile university. And same thing when you're lifting, like when your mind's not focused on something, like throw in your headphones and listen to something finance, business, success related, if that's what you want to develop. But like I said, done all those things, listened to the podcast, walked my dog, showered, ate a great breakfast with a lot of protein. My breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. And then I put 30 to 45 minutes in developing my side hustle. So that's like 5 or 6 really high level activities that I've already done. And it's not even 8 a.m. yet.
Wow. Win your morning, win the day.
That's it. That's all it is,
Yeah.
because your morning sets the tone for the rest of your day. And that's what comes back to the uncomfortability. Going through a workout makes the day so much easier, and goes back to winning your life, like the early portion of your life, winning your 20s, like that sort of thing. You win the morning, you win the day, you win your 20s, you win your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when people say I don't have much time, it's not necessarily mean that you don't have a lot of time. It's that you're not putting your priority on the top of the list.
That's
Your
it.
priority here is prayer. Your priority is yoga. Your priority is working out, understanding yourself,
Yes.
self-awareness, working on your side hustles. Many people, it's like what they say, eat the frog, right? Do no hardest thing first thing when you wake up in the morning, and that's waking up really, really early. Eat that. There you go. And
That's
this
it.
is why Ben, for the people who's listening, Ben should show like the Eat the Frog book. So this is why
To be
we're
fair, I haven't
accountability
read it yet.
partners.
I gotta be honest, so I have not read it yet. I've read a lot of other books so far, but I got that one for Christmas, and I haven't read all like the 20 books that I got for Christmas yet. But no, that's it,
That's
dude.
awesome.
Start with the hardest activity, and the rest of your day will be easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the most important thing. This is a curious question. Have you seen the differences in the people that going to the gym in the morning versus in the evening?
I would say, yeah, probably. There's a lot less socializing in the morning. I can tell you that much. Like when you see people lifting in the afternoon, like everybody's kind of chatting. Like it seems like kind of going through lackluster workouts. And that's not to say like there's some people who absolutely get after it in the afternoon. And you don't necessarily have to wake up early in the morning to get after it during your day. Like structure your schedule in what way that works for you and around like your work schedule, like if you work nights or whatever it may be, that kind of thing. But for me, like the people I see in the gym, like you'll see the same group of people that go to the gym in the
Yes.
morning. Like it's the same like 10 to 15 people. And you know that these people, their schedule is
Yep.
absolutely dialed in, and you see them getting after it in the morning. So it's such a profound point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the evening you would see like the high school kids, right, gathering out. There's six
That's it.
six to ten of them in the same bench press, having a
Hey, that
conversation.
was
It's
me.
so
That was me,
packed.
brother. That was me when I was in high school, going to the gym like to socialize and just not even actually working out. Like that's what you see. Gym's more packed. There's more excuses in the afternoon and the evening to not go and get after it. Like things always come up. Most people aren't operating in the early morning. The business world
Sure.
doesn't start till 8, 9 a.m., whatever it is. So as the day goes on, more and more excuses are going to come up for you not to get after it in the gym. And if you want to prioritize going to the gym, it's going to be a lot harder if you're doing it at 6, 7 o'clock after you've put in a 9 hour day at work. Your girlfriend, maybe she wants to go to the movies with you tonight. Maybe your friends want to hang out tonight. Like, oh, come on, let's go do something fun. It's like so much easier to say no to those priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. And the morning people tend to be people who just want to get after it, like you mentioned. It's people like you, right, who just want to get in and get out. I have responsibilities at home, or I have other
That's it.
priorities that I want to get to early in the morning. You have that same mindset of people. And luckily enough, I have the same experience of it's always the same people. At this point, I said hi to
Yes.
probably 85% of them that that see there. It's like, hey, we see each other every day. Might as well start a quick conversation. It's like, hey, what's your name? Oh, my name's
100%.
Aldo. And what's your name? And then it's like, hey, what are you doing? And what's oddly enough, some of those people are very like either at the top of the food chain, or perhaps they're similar mindset in terms of investing. Like their physical
Hmm.
attribute translates into what they're doing maybe in their career. Because, for example, I found my mortgage broker, or not, yeah, mortgage lender or whatever, from going to the gym at 5 a.m., which is odd.
Yeah.
Uh, and I remember, and actually, this is the guy is Alex Tabernet, and he's the first guy on he's the first person on my podcast. He's the
Nice.
mortgage lender. So I met. I didn't really talk about it in the first episode, but I met Alex because I saw him drove a really fancy car, and
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta say hi to that guy. And then he was getting after it. He was like, working out, and he was hustling, going back and forth. And I'd never see him on his phone. And there's a reason for
Yeah.
that. But I came up to him. I was like, hey, what's your name? My name's Alex. Hey, my name's Aldo. And I was like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a mortgage lender. And he's been in a business for 25 years, and he's
Wow.
absolutely is killing it in the game. And that's the reason he have a nicer car. But then now we start developing that relationship and having conversation. And it wasn't even about like, oh, how much do you lift? Oh, it's not about like, oh, I squat this much. But it was like, hey, interest rate are really good right now. Oh, housing markets are changing right now. It's about like those economics conversations and business conversations at 5 a.m. in the morning, while we both are lifting. But that's the type of people that you meet when you set
Yeah.
yourself in that environment of the same like-minded people, and networking with the same high caliber of people. And it is true, like you're the sum of the five people around you. If you are
Yeah.
going to eat junk food, like if your friends are always going out and partying, you will be that sixth person that's going out and partying too. But if you
Right.
are surrounded yourself with business owners, with people who are constantly trying to improve themselves on a daily basis, you will be eventually catch their bug,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. Like you will be influenced by those type of people. And I think translates back into the networking and surrounded with the right people. Even Ben and I, even though like we mentioned in the show before, like we never met in person, but we surround
Hmm.
ourselves with each other. We catch each other vibe in terms of Ben is absolutely beast when it comes to running, and I see his Strava. Even though he can't read my Strava, my numbers is not just as good as him. But regardless of that, he's absolutely he's absolutely killing it. But I'm surrounded by guys like him now, that if I see him on Strava running 10 miles on a 7 minute per mile pace, I can't reach that. I can't run that fast, but like it pushes me. It's like, oh crap, he actually went on a run. Now I'm more motivated to go running,
Yeah.
as opposed to if I never met Ben before. It's like, it's raining outside. I don't really need to know. I'll probably do it for another day. So
That's it.
that accountability
Yeah.
plays a huge role, a huge role.
Yeah. No,
So
it definitely does. And that's why, like I said, it's so beneficial to have access to people online that you can connect with and be accountable to, like you and I. Even if you don't necessarily have people like that in your physical or like your direct life in your little circle of friends that you might have had from high school or whatever, um, it's still possible to find somebody online like that. And it's also possible to just listen to podcasts, like listen to your success podcast. Make the five people that you spend the most time with be the successful people that you listen to in the podcast you listen to. Like I would say I probably listen to, next to, other than Anna, fiance, girl I live with 24/7, the people who I listen to talk the most are like Brandon Turner from the Bigger Pockets podcast, now the Better Life podcast, Bedros Koulian from the Bedros
yep.
Koulian show, like Austin Hankwitz and Robert Croak from the Rich Habits podcast, which is a great podcast. But like these people obviously don't know me, but they've become like my best friends. Like these, it's like my inner advocate. Like these guys are advocating for me and showing me the path just by listening to them every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even though you're probably don't have a lot of network, maybe you're a younger person and you're like, oh, my friends do other things. The content that you're consuming is maybe just as important to listen
Yes.
to. And if you're constantly watching videos about politics, right, where you get caught up in things that doesn't necessarily directly affect you, it will soon, but not at that certain moment. Moreover, these
Yes.
news channels tend to just want to get your attention, and that is the most important thing in life
Right.
other than time, is that your attention. If your attention is
Mm-hmm.
shifted towards something that is growth oriented, you will grow
Yes.
yourself. If you start taking
Yeah.
advice and start taking actions on those advice, not just listen to listen or read just to read, or you actually taking in that information, putting it into work, executing on those, being accountable for your own actions, you start growing almost not immediately, but if you do it consistently, almost immediately. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, 100%. And it's almost like that sort of like mental garage. And I know this is another thing that David Goggins has talked about before. Like you said about like the politics, about just the stuff that you put into your brain that doesn't matter. Like it just means nothing. Like control what you can control and don't worry about the uncontrollables. Like do the things in your life that are going to make a difference for you and stop focusing on the things that don't matter. Like what's going on in politics, local politics, what the new Netflix show is, like what the new show is on HBO Max, like whatever. Like it's good to do those things. Like like I'm not saying I don't do those things, but you need to put your purpose over your pleasure first and foremost. Um, and that's the best way to approach it. If you have lived out your purpose for that week, you did all the things that you said you were going to do. Okay, watch your movie. Okay, do your thing. Like have your fun on your Saturday night, whatever it may be. But make sure you do those high priority activities first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got to put a little disclaimer here is that, Ben and I wake up relatively early. He wakes up earlier than me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're better than you, whoever's listening, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily mean that just because we wake up early in the morning and get after it doesn't necessarily mean that your lives completely suck. It means that that's how we live our life. If you wake up at 7 o'clock and that's your circadian rhythm, then by all means, just do it. But as long as the most important thing here is, dedicating your life into something that you want to be in,
Yeah.
not just throwing it away, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's the realistic version of this entire podcast and this entire show that we're doing right now is dedicate your time into the things that you want to do. Even if you don't know what you want to do, try out many different things. And that is important. As guys, we're all ambition and we all trying to make a better world ourselves and create a purpose. This is how you do it. Just do stuff. That's and sometimes it is nice to have a day off or take a rest day, because maybe for us Netflix is bad, or maybe for us wasting time doing absolutely nothing is bad. But it's not necessarily bad, because you can use that as a form of self-care. Like, as
100%.
fathers, right, people who have kids, it's just a nice way to just relax on a couch with, and the kids are maybe in school, or your wife or the mom is taking care of the kids, and it's a very quiet home and you're sitting on a couch. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that,
Yeah.
we're two ambitious guys on the same podcast talking about many different things, but at the same time the recovery aspect is just as important. For us, we're always go go
Yeah.
go go go, but Ben, he's doing a lot of running and doing a lot of weightlifting, and I'm doing a workout as well. That recovery is just as important as the activity that we're doing. And I think that for some people, having that rest time, having that one day off, and Ben does have, we'll talk about that in a little bit, that Sunday where he recoups everything, he dedicated more on
Yeah.
self, he do a rest day. That is very important.
Yes.
But that is after you've done all the hard work, not necessarily
Yeah.
before the hard work, but after you get after it throughout the
Exactly.
week.
Exactly. And like you said, it's not doesn't necessarily mean that we're better than anybody. If you wake up early and that works for you, it works for me. like that's great. If you wake up a little bit later, 8, 9, 10, like I'm not going to advocate for waking up at like 1 p.m. or anything like that. But like if you wake up a little bit later, as long as you're getting done the things that you said you were going to do and the high priority tasks that are going to help you flip the switch and turn into the person that you want to be, like there's nothing wrong with that. If you're getting, we all have the same 24 hours, like do what you need
Yes.
to do. But what works for me and what seems to work for you too, Aldo, is that getting up early is just, we need that time in the morning for ourselves to get up and get after it. Because I know if I get up at 4:30, Anna's not, probably doesn't get up till 8 or so. That gives me 3.5 hours to dedicate to myself, to my personal development before she even gets up. So when she gets up and she's ready to hang out, talk, whatever, like I'm good. I've done what I needed
Yeah.
to do for my personal development for the day already. And she's just waking up. So that like puts my relationship in a better position. That puts like my ability to accomplish the other tasks throughout the day in a better position. And it really just benefits everything else for me. But that's different for everybody.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're getting at the end of the show here, and I wanted to ask Ben. I want to ask you, Ben. Uh, I asked this to almost every guest. Well, actually, every guest that's on the podcast, and that the question is, since the name of the podcast called Kaizen Blueprint, Kaizen is a Japanese term for continuous improvement. And we talk about a
Yes.
lot about continuous improvement here. You talk about your minute mastermind, you talk about your daily habits,
Yes.
you talk about, just waking up early and getting after it. Those are all daily habits that we talked about in this podcast. But is there any other ones that you think that benefit that people can benefit from?
Just daily habits in general. It depends. Like for me, like my relationship, like I said, is of utmost importance. So my relationship with God, but my relationship with Anna as well. So making sure to put into time to develop those things first. And I know we kind of talked about the running, we talked about the business, we talked about the finance, we talked about the mindset. But having those things as kind of my foundation has, for my personal development, has been what set me up to accomplish all the other things. Because I know, like, I have my foundation. I'm good. Like I have my relationship with Jesus, I have my relationship with Anna. Those two boxes are checked off and I'm developing those every day. Like I know that I'm going to be in a position every day to get after it in every other aspect of my life, but it all starts with that foundation for me. So whether you're religious or not, it's not necessarily like, I'm not going to judge anybody by any means, but find that relationship in your life that you can develop, whether it's with God, whether it's with your fiance, your girlfriend, your family member, whatever it may be. Like find someone to tap into, and use that to be your motivation and your foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is important, right? We talk about the entire podcast. We talk about self, but we never talk about the relationship that we have other people, that we have with our
Mm-hmm.
spiritual beings, whoever that we believe in. Doesn't matter if it's Jesus or God or doesn't really matter, but just the world in general, and investing that time
Yes.
too with your family member, with your loved ones. It is just important, because if you're just doing things on your own, it's tough. You don't have any supporting crew. I mean, maybe for
Yeah.
some people it works well for them, but I think, I was watching a video. I think it's Alux, right? People, uh, and at least in the modern world, we think that our main goal is either fame or money, right? All the luxury things in life. Like, it is nice. That's awesome, but that's only temporary. The legacy that you
100%.
build for other people, the legacy that you build with your partner, and it's very. I'm very blessed, and Ben is very blessed to have awesome partners that are very supportive of us. But if you're single,
Yes.
find that person, and I guarantee they will be your biggest supporter. And not only just to find that person, but actually invest in that person too, because we only have, like Ben mentioned, we only have 24 hours in a day, and some of those hours got to be dedicated into your relationship. It is important. As
Yep.
much as we say, we wake up early, we dedicate so much time into our side hustles, to our business, to our work, to our physical bodies and everything. It is important. It is maybe more important to dedicate your life into your partner as well, and your family members, and with the world.
Dude, couldn't have said it better because that's the most important thing is your relationships and
Yeah.
your family because that's the legacy that's gonna move on with your kids, with the people in your life that you've maybe had a positive interaction with. Just be a relentless giver of your time, giver of your resources, and just watch the fruits that produces for you.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, Ben, thanks a lot for being on the show. It's been
Bro,
a high
Aldo,
energy one.
oh, bro, the next one's gonna be even better when you have me back on. This is fantastic. So grateful for the platform. So grateful for the opportunity, and looking forward to getting after it with you in our accountability meetings and on Strava too. Looking forward to seeing you on there.
Awesome. Yeah, on the next episode, we'll definitely dive deep into what goes on behind the accountability. Right now, it's all in the works, but we're slowly getting better at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Getting after it, man. Getting so much better every single day. Couldn't do it without you, man.
Awesome. And that's the way we could end it. All right. I'll see you, Ben. Thanks a lot, brother.
Aldo, you're a beast, brother. Have a great one.